Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Hey, what's up with it, family? It's your boy Hot Boxing Minute back at you with that uncut realness. Before I begin anything, hit that like button. Hit follow if you haven't already done so. I really hate that I have to say this. Hit that follow button if you're not already following my content. This is Hot Boxing Minute, the future of boxing analysis on this platform. So, the subject of the day, it's been a jam-packed weekend. A whole bunch of stuff went down already. We had that awesome fight right there with Jared Anderson. And of course, it was one-way traffic against Andre Rudenko. Then, of course, we had that fight on, yesterday afternoon. We had Alexander Usyk out there against Danny Dubois. That was an interesting affair in and of itself, and I'll probably do a video on that one. But the latest news, folks, is we're back on this one. Shakur Stevenson and Frank the Ghost Martin. Everything is looking really promising, folks, in the build-up to this. So essentially, the WBC has ordered that Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin have until September 5th to reach terms. Basically, they have to come to a financial agreement on a fight between them two. Otherwise, it goes in a purse bid. So for those of you who don't know what that means, a purse bid means that if both parties, so you got Shakur Stevenson on one side, he's managed by Jay Prince, signed under Top Rank. On the other side, you got Frank the Ghost Martin. He's with Man Down Promotions. That's Errol Spence Jr.'s company. So he's managed by Errol Spence. That's a PBC-related company. Hey, hats off to both men for us getting to this point. Let's here you go. So a lot of people have made their criticisms in the past about cross promotions not able to work with each other. We know Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence spent years in debate limbo trying to finalize the rights to the deal, but yet we saw later on, in the case of Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis, two fighters from two different platforms, if they really press the issue, can get the fight to happen. And here we are with Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin. They have to come to an agreement by September 5th or it goes to purse bid. Now, what purse bid means is that if the two parties cannot come to a financial agreement on a split, 50-50, 60-40, whatever the television rights or what have you, I don't think it's going to be a pay-per-view event because I don't think either of them really demands that kind of money. Although I do think whoever wins this has the potential in the future to become a pay-per-view sensation. Frank Martin is not a proven ticket seller. Shakur Stevenson has not really proved that he can sell tickets outside of Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. Much respect. You guys got a thoroughbred two-division champion on your hands. So if it does go to purse bid, essentially they pick a date and they have outside vendors, outside promotional companies, outside people that got that bag, that got that guap. And these people can bid a la a bid, like an auction, so to speak, right? Where they can bid and outbid each other to see who can host the fight. The bid will usually have a minimum, 750,000, 1 million, 1.5 million. I don't know. It all depends on how much Shakur Stevenson's market value is and Frank Martin, the Ghost, how much his market value is. And as far as I can tell, both their market values should be fairly high. If you look at their box recs, they are both undefeated, folks. Neither has ever lost in their professional career. To this day, both remain undefeated. And if there's one thing boxing fans love more than anything is that obsession with the O, with that virginity. When their cherry has not been popped yet, people love to see them inside a ring with each other. And I happen to be one of those people. I think it's a great idea to get these two in the ring. They're both undefeated. Shakur Stevenson is sitting pretty with a record of 20-0. Not the heaviest hand to deal with 10 knockouts. Frank Martin, some consider him to be a power puncher, but he's sitting there with 12 knockouts himself, 18-0. So I think it's an interesting matchup, to say the least. Shakur Stevenson off the top does seem to have a deeper amateur pedigree. Obviously, he was an Olympic silver medalist. He had that deep amateur international experience. Frank Martin did have some limited amateur experience. He must have fought, if I'm not mistaken, something like 58 amateur fights, won a Golden Glove national title. His most famous amateur claim to fame was beating Virgil Ortiz Jr. for the Golden Glove national championship back in some year, 2016 or something to that effect. Both of them are southpaws. So that's a fascinating enough idea in and of itself to have two southpaws, both of them technically proficient. I think on the outset, by most pundits and by most boxing experts' opinions, they both, Shakur Stevenson actually might have better technical capabilities. Shakur Stevenson reminds me of Andre Ward, but I'll do more on the technical breakdown, the technical aspects of what's going on with that as we get closer to fight date. Hold on, let me get a sip of this caffeinated beverage. So either way, are you not entertained with the very idea, of seeing Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin inside the ring? I am.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? There's no why you are here.
So I'm going to move on from Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin. We've got to wait until September 5th to see whether or not they've reached that agreement as per the WBC. On to other news. This news, not so exciting. Let me see if I can pull up the screen here. It involves Gervonta Davis. Since we're on the subject of some of the most popular American fighters in the game right now, let's see what my man Michael Benson has to say. And let me add this to the stream. Minimize my screen. Boom. You got Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz. The rematch is reportedly being lined up to potentially happen next. That's why Cruz was unavailable for the vacant WBC Lightweight World title fight. For those of you who have not watched the video I did earlier on Shakur Stevenson versus Frank Martin, I talked to you about the WBC rankings, and I could probably pull up that page again, but and the WBC order Shakur Stevenson versus Frank Martin instead. So essentially what that means, let me see if I can get the screen a little smaller. What that screen is saying is that all signs are pointing to Isaac Cruz once again fighting Gervonta Davis. And I know there's a lot of people, a lot of boxing pundits, a lot of hardcore tanksters are upset about this idea. And I think they should step outside their ego, folks. We got to step outside our egos and just really take a step back, look at the game for what it is, and decide what truth are we going to believe in. Are we going to believe in what Floyd Mayweather said about the green print? What did Floyd Mayweather say was the green print? He said, you need a black fighter. You need a brown fighter. Put them together, and the boxing game spits out money. Now, Isaac Cruz is not Shakur Stevenson. Isaac Cruz is not Devin Haney. Isaac Cruz is not Teofimo Lopez. But Isaac Cruz does have a fan base. Do we have any track record of the performance of his fan base as far as filling up seats and selling pay-per-view units? Not really. Not really. I go in the online world, especially on boxing Twitter. You'll see a lot more Isaac Cruz fans on TikTok and YouTube. They're really deep on TikTok. PBC, I believe, set up Isaac Cruz as a last-minute replacement for Rolly Romero, who was originally supposed to fight Tank Davis in the build-up for that fight a few years back. They got Isaac Cruz as a last-minute replacement. To their surprise, Isaac Cruz made it a very, very competitive fight. I had the fight 8-4 in favor of Tank Davis. You could easily argue 7-5 either way. Isaac Cruz was the first fighter that we know in Tank Davis's career to survive the Tank Davis experience. Isaac Cruz is tough. There was not at one point in that fight where we saw him troubled. So although a lot of people are criticizing this matchup and criticizing Tank's opponent selection, which we can do that all day. We can sit there and cry and whine about the fights that we're not getting in boxing. But unfortunately, folks, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Your boy Hot Boxing Minute is not the type of person that sits there and focuses on what it is he doesn't have in life or what it is the boxing game is not giving me. You can go to all the old boxing journalists, those old boxing writers. They complain all day. Boxing is dying. We're not getting the fights we want. And you're more than welcome to go to them for your source of boxing news. That's just not my approach. I myself am very heavily involved in the amateur and club level boxing scenes in my city of San Diego. So I'm in the southwest region of the United States. I'm constantly in Tijuana. I'm constantly in Ensenada, Rosarito. This last May, I was in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico to catch the Canelo fight. So I see what the southwest region of the United States is thinking. And there's a lot of Isaac Cruz fans out there that love that dude, Isaac Cruz. They really legitimately see him as the Mexican Mike Tyson. And even more outrageous is many of them believe that Isaac Cruz beat Gervonta Davis in that first fight. I kid you not. I kid you not. I know. It's like, can you imagine? Isaac Cruz beat Gervonta Davis in that first fight. It's a bad joke. But hey, if you believe he did, a rematch should be better more than ever. Oddly enough, I do think a rematch between Isaac Cruz and Gervonta Davis puts up more numbers than a fight between Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis. I really do. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but oddly enough, the United States of America, this beautiful country of ours, salute to this beautiful country of ours. I don't know if I'm doing this correctly, has a race issue. But that race is definitely manipulated and pumps up sales for boxing events. It puts butts in seats. It sells pay-per-views. In the early part of boxing's development in the 1900s, the late 1800s, clear up through roughly the 1970s, 1980s, it was a white and a black fighter. That was the GreenPrint to pump out money. Well, the white fighter in boxing has since lost his shine or lost the appeal. They've all moved over into MMA. More power to MMA. There's an income barrier to practice MMA. So the suburbs got the combat sport to call their own. More power to them. But in boxing, it's the black versus the brown that drives the sales. I am neither black nor brown. I'm Asian. So I watch it from the outside. And when you're in these online comment sections, you see the Mexicans, you see the blacks. Oh, they're going at it all day long on these social media talk spaces and comment sections. Y'all, one eye. Hold on, what does the world say? Eye for an eye leaves the world blind. So you can't return hate with hate. Have logical, intelligent boxing talk. There's no need for it to digress into racial disrespect, but it does sell boxing tickets. So I do believe Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz does have some value. Anyways, boxing community, what do you think about Shakur Stevenson versus Frank Martin? That's an awesome fight. Even better, what do you think about Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz coming up next? Let me know in the comment section. Hit that like button. This is Hot Boxing Minute, y'all. The future of boxing analysis on this platform. Peace.